Hey everybody, it's Critic here, and after spending the last 8 or so months covering internet drama, I felt like taking a break. So today, I'm going back to my channel's roots by reviewing a cartoon. But not just any cartoon, dear viewer. No. The subject of today's video is quite infamous, and I've been meaning to cover it for the longest time. What cartoon am I gonna be reviewing today, you ask? I'll let the following clip answer your question for me.
Hey, when we're older, let's get married.
Ha! You can't get married.
Why not?
Black people can't marry white people.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to be covering the Steven Universe anti-racism PSAs. Now, I know that they've already been torn to shreds by several other YouTubers, but I wanted to give them a more thorough shakedown because I think there's a lot more problems with them that those other YouTubers didn't touch on. Before I start my review, however, I think it'd be a good idea to explore the context behind these PSAs. That means it's time for yet another history lesson, folks.
Unless you've been living under a rock, or in a different country, you'll know that 2020 was a horrible year to be an American. The government forced us to stay at home because of a disease that has a 98% survival rate, a geriatric nutjob was elected to the highest office in America, and Cardi B released a song so terrible that forcing anybody to listen to it would legally constitute torture. By far the most important event that happened last year, though, was that a black man named George Floyd was killed by a police officer named Derek Chauvin on May 25th, 2020. Floyd's death triggered a summer-long series of riots throughout many of America's largest cities that caused millions of dollars in property damage and took the lives of several innocent people. These riots were primarily led by supporters of a far-left organization named Black Lives Matter, and despite all of the death and destruction they caused, they were venerated by the mainstream media, with CNN even going so far as to say that the riots were just, quote, mostly peaceful protests. This of course led to the group garnering all types of support, from corporations donating millions of dollars to it, to out-of-touch celebrities delivering cringy-ass statements of solidarity on social media.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not-so-funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Every blatant injustice, no matter how big or small.
Every time I remained silent.
Every time I explained away police brutality or turned a blind eye.
I take responsibility.
God, how could any of these people think it'd be a good idea to make something like this?
Unfortunately, the animation industry wasn't spared from this pandering nonsense. There were several cartoons that released PSAs about racism. Some were relatively harmless, like the one made by Barbie, whereas others were completely nonsensical, like the one made by Arthur.
I gotta call Buster. Hey, Arthur. Hey, Buster. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I just watched it. It was awful. I can't believe someone would be hurt like that, just because they're black.
Racism is so unfair. No one should ever judge someone by the color of their skin.
You motherfuckers are all animals. Why in the hell would racism be a problem in your universe?
Look, it's fine when Arthur tackles subjects like cancer, homosexuality, and PTSD, because each of those issues translate well to the show's setting. But racism? Even Zootopia had trouble covering that topic, and that was a big-budget Hollywood movie made by a team of experienced writers. So what hope do the interns scripting this short for PBS have of handling a subject this sensitive with any kind of grace?
Only racists that the characters from Arthur should have to deal with are people who hate racing. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, that joke sounded a lot funnier in my head.
Hands down, the worst PSAs that came out of this ridiculous trend, however, were the Steven Universe ones. These were some of the dumbest, most racist pieces of propaganda I've seen in quite a while.
And I'm going to explain why in excruciating detail. let's get things started by covering the very first PSA that was released, which is called Don't Deny It, Defy It.
1, 2, 3!
Hey, when we're older, let's get married.
Ha! You can't get married.
Why not?
Black people can't marry white people.
What the heck? What is it?
It's still just as funny.
What the so?
Only 16 seconds in and already we're losing it.
And there you have it, folks. The first of many incredibly stupid lines that you're going to hear in these PSAs. First things first, if this short was in any way realistic, then this kid would be making fun of these two for being gay rather than being black and white. Sorry, but that's the truth. Second of all, what kind of boys are going to be holding hands with one another while they're playing together? This isn't something that boys normally do. It's certainly something that I've never seen happen, and I come from a Hispanic family, so I've been around my fair share of children. But enough bigotry. Let's see how this nasty racist gets put in his place.
Hey now.
It's Garnet from Steven Universe!
Kids, don't be racist.
I love that. Just don't be racist.
You know, you could have ended the PSA there.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Bravo, everybody, bravo! Garnet has officially ended racism. Never again are we ever going to hear Yale professors admit to fantasizing about wanting to kill white people. Yes, that actually happened. I'm not making it up. Everybody give Garnet a round of applause.
Cut! Okay, people, we just need to get coverage. We'll start again in 5.
Ah, okay. So everything that we just heard came from an in-universe PSA that was being filmed, and we aren't supposed to take it seriously. I can get down with that. So, let's check out what the serious part of this PSA contains.
This is the cheesiest job I've ever done. Stuff like this doesn't actually happen in real life.
Hey, you know what? I actually agree with that. There has never been an instance where a kid just ran over to two other boys who were holding hands and separated them while screaming,
Black people can't marry white people.
That is such a ludicrous situation to present in a PSA about racism that you can't take it seriously. Let's see how the other kids respond to this simple, common sense observation.
Whoa there. Are you kidding? It totally does.
Just because this has never happened to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Oh my god.
Hey morons, the kid isn't saying that nobody is ever racist in real life. He's saying that the kind of outlandish racism portrayed in the in-universe PSA doesn't happen in real life. That's why he was grumbling about this being the quote cheesiest gig I've ever been in.
Next, is the kid gonna walk his statement back without any sort of rebuttal?
Oh wow, I'm sorry. Seriously, I didn't know.
Alright, either the writers are incredibly sheltered and naive, or they were just too lazy to write out a hypothetical argument against their position, because people do not change their opinions this easily in real life. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, everyone messes up sometimes. But you gotta realize it hurts to deal with racism. And when people act like it's not real, it makes it feel even worse.
But the kid wasn't pretending like racism doesn't exist. All he said was that people aren't as cartoonishly obvious about their racism in real life as they are in the PSA that he was filming. Stop putting words in his mouth, you French fried-haired dumbass.
You have to acknowledge racism to work against it.
You know what, Garnet? You are absolutely right. So, when are you guys going to make a PSA about all of the racism that white people have been experiencing over the past 5 years?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
fear, being fearful of nothing,
being ignorant,
blame,
letting their egos control their every move,
privilege,
feeling victimized,
playing the victim,
congratulating themselves over shit that
You're incompetent at?
Oh wait, you guys can't acknowledge that sort of racism because it would go against the narrative that you're trying to push. God, this PSA is such a disingenuous pile of shit.
You're right. I can do that.
You kids better work on this before the wedding.
Whoa, that's just for the script. We only just met today.
This PSA sucks. It's unrealistic, unfunny, and seems to believe that we live in a world where most people are ignoring racism, which couldn't be any further from the truth. You wanna know what the worst part is though? We've still got 3 more of these things left to cover, and it's only gonna get dumber from here. Sometimes I hate the fact that I'm straight-edged.
That's literally the opposite of what happened.
That was the worst video that I saw out of all of them. They adds nothing. At the beginning of it was ridiculous, but the last half of it literally added nothing.
You know, this could have worked if this was a legitimate parody of cheesy PSAs. But that's not what they're going for, so it doesn't
That's not what they're going for. Yeah.
The second PSA that's on the chopping block is called Tell the Whole Story. And of the 4 PSAs that I'm going to be covering today, this one is definitely the most damaging in terms of its content.
Why yes, Crystal Gems, I have known about Black History because my school always taught it during Black History Month. But let's see how this PSA will dismiss that fact.
All right, class. Can anyone tell me who invented the light bulb?
Well, clearly it was God.
Thomas Edison!
Oh, sure. We could claim that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but is Thomas Edison gonna save you from eternal suffering in the bowels of hell? Repent, sinners! Repent! Sorry about that, folks. I got a little carried away with my bit back there. Let's move on.
That's not entirely true. The light bulb could more rightfully be attributed to Lewis Latimer, the black inventor behind the filament inside the bulb.
His invention made light bulbs affordable and efficient enough for the general public, bringing electric light into households around the world.
Well, so now you know.
Oh, Pearl, you stupid, stupid bitch. You know, I haven't actually watched Steven Universe in quite a while, but back when I did, Pearl was easily my least favorite character, and now I feel vindicated for feeling that way.
Listen here, moron. There's a difference between inventing something and improving on an invention that already exists. Saying that Lewis Latimer created the light bulb just because he improved on the damn thing is like saying that Genndy Tartakovsky created Star Wars just because he made the Clone Wars cartoon, which was a vastly superior improvement on the prequel films that George Lucas made. Not only is it stupid, but the way Pearl describes it is also misleading. She says that Lewis Latimer is the inventor behind the carbon filament that's used in light bulbs.
The light bulb could more rightfully be attributed to Lewis Latimer, the black inventor behind the filament inside the bulb.
His invention made light bulbs affordable and efficient enough for the general public, bringing electric light into households around the world.
But that's not entirely true. Lewis Latimer didn't create the carbon filament. He merely found a way to make carbon filament last longer by encasing it in cardboard. Don't get me wrong, that's still a huge accomplishment, but the carbon filament itself has been around since 1878, while Latimer wouldn't start working with Thomas Edison until the late 1880s. The fact that the writers had to lie about what Latimer actually did just shows that they aren't interested in recognizing the accomplishments of black inventors unless they're the biggest, most impressive ones ever. And that's just fucking pathetic.
Wait, is that it? Hold on. We're not going to mention why he invented the filament?
To make life easier for millions of people around the globe?
To create a better standard of living for people who had only just been freed from slavery?
What?
What the
I always
heck?
love that. I always love that. They always bring up slavery.
Why do they even need to bring that? Like the top of the light bulb to slavery? It's like, oh, better about the people of slavery. The light bulb benefits everyone, excuse me?
Can we all remind our viewers that everyone essentially does it for the money?
Yeah.
We need money to live. Don't tell me you don't do it for the money.
I guess you could say that that was his sole motivation, Pearl, but you'd have to show me your sources for that claim, because none of the articles that I read about Latimer say that he improved the light bulb specifically to make life easier for recently freed black people. Hell, why are we even talking about slavery? What does slavery have to do with the invention of the light bulb? These two topics could not be any more different from one another.
Are we going to ask why kids are apparently learning about Thomas Edison? Ugh, and not learning about Lewis Latimer?
Citation needed, woman. Hey Pearl, if you don't like the script that you were given for this PSA, then there's the door. Feel free to walk out of it anytime you want. On a serious note though, kids learn about Thomas Edison in school because he's commonly recognized as the inventor of the light bulb. Now, if you want to challenge that claim by pointing to the tons of historical evidence that says otherwise, that would be one thing. However, it's clear that the message behind this PSA is that schools should be teaching kids about the important roles that black inventors have played in American history. And that's a pretty hard lesson to stomach when you're lying to us about what Lewis Latimer did. There's a way to do this without coming off as a self-righteous prick. Here, I'll show you.
Alright class, can anybody tell me who invented the light bulb?
Thomas Edison!
That's true, but what you probably didn't know is that Edison's light bulb suffered from a lot of problems.
The carbon filament that it ran on burnt out too quickly and was very expensive to produce. Edison needed to find a way to fix these issues, and so he enlisted the help of a talented engineer named Lewis Latimer. Latimer ironed out the kinks in Edison's designs by encasing the carbon filament in cardboard, which made it more durable. His improvements made light bulbs cheaper to produce and allowed them to burn for much longer, thus raising the standard of living for everyone around the globe. And for his efforts, he became the first black person to join the Edison Pioneers, which was a group made up of the most prestigious inventors in America.
Unfortunately, a lot of schools won't teach you about this because they're underfunded, which is why it's more important than ever for you to go out and do your own research about things like this, because Lewis Latimer isn't the only person who gets left out of the textbooks.
There, not only did I teach kids about an important black inventor, but I even gave them more information than Pearl did. If the writing in your PSA is being outdone by an asshole on the internet, then it's time to hire better writers, Cartoon Network.
These textbooks are incomplete.
Which textbooks are you talking about, Pearl? Because right now, you're taking aim at the entire US educational system. And unless you've been to every single school in the country, or have some statistics to show us, I doubt that you're in any position to judge whether or not black people are being underrepresented in our history books.
There were black Roman warriors.
Why do you only care that there were black Roman warriors, and not the fact that the continent of Africa was home to several different empires with their own unique histories and cultures? Are the accomplishments of black people only valid if they're part of something that white people created? Also, the people who inhabited North Africa during antiquity weren't really what you'd consider black, but that's a whole other discussion.
Black medieval knights.
I refer you to my last argument.
Black classical musicians.
Alright, you got me there. I didn't learn about any black classical musicians when I was in school, but I did learn about the Harlem Renaissance and the creation of jazz. Just because kids don't learn about every single black musician that's ever existed doesn't mean that they don't learn about any black musicians.
Black cowboys.
We might not have been taught about black cowboys, but we were taught about
vaqueros, Hispanic livestock herders who were the precursor to cowboys.
That reminds me, Aren't you gonna mention any other race, Pearl? Like Hispanics, Asians, or Native Americans? Or do you only care about black people? So much for being anti-racist.
Black fighter pilots.
Who's going to tell her that the Tuskegee Airmen are one of the most celebrated military units in American history? I mean, these guys have had several movies, documentaries, and books dedicated to them, and I learned all about them in school. Maybe before you try and school us on what we should be learning about, you should try to find out what we're already learning about.
I mean, come on. This is starting to get ridiculous. History books are not, quote, incomplete just because they don't cover every single instance in which black people did something. But even if they were, there are other ways for children to learn about the achievements of black people. For example, there's entertainment. We have all sorts of movies, books, TV shows, documentaries, and comics that are about black people, both real and fictional. You want to watch an action film about black cowboys? Watch Django Unchained, Unforgiven, or The Hateful Eight. You want to watch a gripping drama about the civil rights movement? Watch Selma, Malcolm X, or The Best of Enemies. You want to learn the real history behind famous black figures and events? There are piles upon piles of documentaries and books that you can get into for all of that.
Don't get me wrong, our educational system is by no means perfect, but what Pearl is doing is counterproductive. She's not raising any specific issues that we could realistically fix. She's making broad generalizations about what kids are learning about in history class to push an agenda, and that's just a wee bit disgusting to me.
Where are they?
Oh, they're in there, Pearl. You just have to read the damn book.
I worry about you humans because you only live, what, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know your own history.
Ignoring how Pearl implies that nobody goes out and learns about history once they graduate from school, her mentioning that humans only live about 100 years brings up an interesting question. How long have the crystal gems been on Earth for?
Well, according to the Steven Universe fan wiki, Pink Diamond arrived on Earth with Pearl around 6,000 years ago to colonize it, with Garnet and Amethyst joining them about 1,000 or so years later. For those who don't know, Pink Diamond is the secret identity of Rose Quartz, who is Steven Universe's mother as well as the former leader of the Crystal Gems. And yes, you heard me right. She and Pearl originally came to Earth to colonize it, because they come from a race of brutal conquerors. In fact, from what I've seen of the later seasons of the show, which admittedly isn't a lot, but that's besides the point, Pink Diamond used to manage a zoo filled with humans.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that we're being lectured to about historical racism by a member of an oppressive alien species that has conquered hundreds of planets and civilizations? I have no words. Come on, Alex, you're being a little dishonest here. Don't you remember that Rose Quartz and the rest of the Crystal Gems fought to free the Earth from the Gem Empire because they grew to love this planet? Well then, that just raises a different problem. If the Crystal Gems have lived on Earth for thousands of years, then that means that they have been present for damn near every single historical atrocity that has ever been committed, and they didn't do a damn thing to stop it. That makes Pearl's bitching here even worse. Oh yeah? Well, how do you know that Steven Universe's Earth has the same history as our Earth? I don't need to know. Pearl is still being a bitch, no matter how different the history of her Earth is from ours, and I'll explain why.
If the world of Steven Universe doesn't have the same history as the real world does, and everything was all hunky-dory, except for the whole being colonized by the Gem Empire bit, then that means that Pearl is ranting about an issue that logically shouldn't exist in her world. Think about it. If slavery and segregation never took place in Steven Universe, then the black people in that show can't possibly be suffering from the same racial issues that black people in the real world suffer from, because they didn't have to deal with the same historical hardships that black people in the real world did. Plus, that would mean that the makeup of human civilization would be radically different from how it is in the real world, but that's neither here nor there.
The point is, Pearl is the last character who should be lecturing us about racial issues, because the lore of Steven Universe completely demolishes whatever moral high ground she might be able to stand on. Why Cartoon Network didn't just make up original characters to star in these PSAs, I'll never understand. Oh wait, I understand it perfectly. See, Steven Universe is a popular TV show, and if you want to push an agenda on impressionable young kids, then you gotta have characters they can recognize preaching it to them so that they're less likely to notice that they're being brainwashed. It's actually quite sinister once you think about it.
Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture.
And there we have it, folks. Pearl is accusing public education of being racially biased against black people because of systemic racism. Never mind the fact that most, if not all, public schools observe Black History Month, or the fact that stuff like critical race theory is being taught to kids despite how racist it is towards white people. It's black people who are getting the short end of the stick. Hey Pearl, take your progressive ideology and shove it up your ass, or whatever the gem equivalent of an ass is.
Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story?
I actually agree with that. We should always remain skeptical of the facts that are being presented to us, no matter who's doing the presenting. That's why when I make responses to other people's videos, I always leave links to my sources in the description down below so that people can go do their own research on the people I'm responding to and come to their own conclusions. Let's see how Pearl fucks up this one good piece of advice.
Was this modified to make white readers comfortable?
What the fuck are you talking about, lady? I remember learning about all of the fucked up shit that white people did to minorities in history class. We talked about slavery, the genocide of the Native Americans, the poor treatment of women, segregation, and all other kinds of injustices. And I grew up in Texas, one of the most conservative, patriotic states in America. Either these writers never went to public school before, or they're being intellectually dishonest about school curriculum, because Pearl's question could only really be asked if she was living in a fucking fantasy world.
Are major details being left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view?
Maybe, but you certainly haven't proved that this is the case, so why in the hell should I believe you? I'll give Pearl a little bit of credit though, because at least she thinks that black people are people of color, unlike a certain YouTuber I know.
Honestly, I should have asked for script approval before agreeing to do this.
What the fuck are you talking about? The script that you were given literally talks about how Lewis Latimer should be credited with the invention of the light bulb. But oh no, it's not enough to lie about what black inventors are responsible for. We've also gotta go on long tangents about slavery and systemic racism, even though neither of those topics have anything to do with what's being taught. Cry me a river, asshole. There's a time and a place for everything. If you want kids to learn about slavery and racism, then teach it to them when you're covering that specific subject. Don't try and shove that shit into every other lesson.
We'll do some rewrites. I'm sorry, we didn't know.
I'm so sorry, Mrs. Pearl. As a feeble human being, my intellect is dwarfed by yours, for you are a powerful, superior species. Don't shove me into a zoo like the other gems did on your home world.
Well, so now you know.
Oh, shut the fuck up, you moralizing piece of shit. I hope you guys now understand why I consider this installment to be the worst of the Steven Universe anti-racism PSAs. It's filled with blatant lies, it generalizes the US educational system, it stars the last character who should be lecturing us about racial issues, and it has the most potential to do real harm to the world.
Teaching an entire generation of black kids that our educational system is racially biased, when in reality that's not true in the slightest, doesn't do anything to uplift their community. It only instills a victim mentality in them, a mentality that they'll then use to justify any number of things. From rioting in the streets whenever a black person is killed at the hands of the police, no matter the context, to excluding white people from community events solely because of the color of their skin.
How long's the blackout going for?
Till 8 p.m.
Okay, so I have to wait till 8 basically?
You're welcome to like hang out in the perimeter area.
Well, the thing is, I'm half Italian, half Colombian, so do I get a pass to get in there, or?
Well, this space is right now held for just black folks.
Oh, just black, okay, yeah. So full black, you're saying?
If you have black ancestry, or if you have experienced oppression because you are black, then you can enter this space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's regressive, counterproductive, and just plain stupid. Yes, racism still exists, and certain institutions are still racially biased to a degree, but I've said it once and I'll say it again. It's not the 1960s anymore. Black people have all the same rights that white people do, and they've gotten just as much recognition for their historical achievements as white people have. Let's stop producing divisive propaganda like this and start giving children what they're actually here for: entertainment.
I swear.
What are they asking for? What do they want? What's the solution here?
Yeah, all their mentions just random like information, and they're like, "All right, you figure out the rest." It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, these PSAs kind of adds fuel to the fire, in my opinion.
You're just dividing people more.
That's true. They're being racist in their own context, because they're like, oh, the white people are not telling you all the things. You guys are being racist because you're already starting up like a whole dividing between white and black.
Alright, I'm about this close to popping a blood vessel, so let's just move on to the third PSA already. The third installment in this series is titled See Color. Wait a minute, what is it titled?
See Color? Are you shitting me? Is that really the title? Oh my god.
You know what? Maybe I'm being too presumptuous. Let's see what this PSA is about before I denounce it for being horrendously racist.
Colorblindness is our game because everyone's the same. Everybody join our circle, doesn't matter if you're white or black
Or purple? What the? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up a minute here. Ugh, who wrote this? I think it kind of does matter that I'm purple. I mean, I'm purple because I'm literally an alien.
Well, unless you think that being an alien exempts you from being treated equally to us humans, I don't understand what your gripe is.
Well, I'm not an alien, but it definitely matters to me that I'm black.
But why?
Yeah, it makes a difference that I'm white. I know the two of us get treated very differently.
Man, I am really pissed that I used my citation needed clip too soon.
I just think it's messed up to compare me being an alien to you two being different races. You're both human. You're totally biologically the same. Adding purple people into a lesson about human racism makes no sense.
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
Wait a minute. Have I finally heard a point that was decent? Hallelujah! It looks like Cartoon Network has finally hired a writer who might know what the fuck they're talking about. Praise the Lord!
I think people like the black, white, or purple thing because adding a fantasy race in there helps distract from the actual racism black people have to deal with.
Yeah, you hear that, extra credits? You should stop treating orcs as though they're an allegory for black people, you hacks. Not only is that extremely bigoted, but you're diminishing the real struggles that black people go through by complaining about a problem that doesn't even exist.
Man, this PSA has been awesome so far. It's teaching us an actual lesson about separating fantasy from reality. A lesson that I think a lot more people need to hear in this day and age. Hopefully it won't go completely off the rails immediately afterwards.
Right. My experience with anti-black racism is really specific. Other people of color experience other forms of racism too, but you won't see any of that if you don't see color.
Oh my gosh.
That is literally the exact opposite of what not seeing color means.
Yeah, they're literally attacking a small group, like, oh yeah, skin color doesn't matter, and like, we should treat each other like, as that. And they're literally attacking that group, and it's just like, why?
Essentially attacking the pacifists, going,
yeah.
Guys, make peace, not war, you know, like, it doesn't matter your skin color. And then them going, it does matter!
You have to see race, damn it.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I really gotta learn to keep my fucking mouth shut. First of all, kids do not talk like this. If you're gonna deliver this message, then have these characters be adults, or at least teenagers, because kids aren't gonna be this well versed on a topic that most of them won't even have to deal with until they're older. Second of all, being colorblind doesn't mean that you ignore racism, dumbass. It just means that you personally won't treat people differently just because of the color of their skin. You can be colorblind and still call out racist behavior. I've done it plenty of times.
Dude, so this entire public service announcement could be a ploy to avoid talking about racism altogether.
Okay, literally how? Let's go back and hear the message that the in-universe PSA was trying to teach us.
Colorblindness is our game because everyone's the same. Everybody join our circle, doesn't matter if you're
white or black
or purple.
What is the problem with that message? Yes, it's stupid to say that everyone's the same when Amethyst is quite literally different from us, but how does that invalidate the concept of equal treatment? That's all colorblindness is. Treating people the same no matter their skin color. What gives Amethyst the right to claim that teaching people to be colorblind is a ploy to avoid talking about racism?
Turner, it just doesn't make sense.
Hey, can we get a rewrite where we appreciate each other without erasing what makes each of us different?
Again, that's not the message you were teaching, but go off, I guess.
Okay, but it's gonna add a couple hours to the shoot.
I can make yours open.
You were rolling just now, weren't you? Can't we just slap some graphics on this and call it a day?
This isn't funny!
See color be anti. What the heck?
I find it racist that they don't have an Asian person there. What's wrong with Asian? I'm joking, no. You're either colorblind or you're not. Make up your mind.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just like,
See? Color? Really? That's the message you want to slap on the screen? You people do realize the racist implications you're leaving behind here, don't you? The only people who would ever want you to see color are actual racists, because color is the literal backbone of their ideology. So not only did you completely misconstrue the term color blindness, but you left a fucking message that I would unironically expect to see printed on a recruiting pamphlet for the Ku Klux Klan.
I'd say that only high schoolers could be this incompetent, but that would be an insult to the intelligence of high schoolers. Fuck this PSA, and fuck the people who released it without giving it a second glance. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Let's move on to the last PSA so I can finally be rid of this stupidity.
The final PSA that's on the list is called Be an Ally.
Hey there, guitar heads. Just dropped my friends off for a gig. For today's lesson...
Cheese it, Greg! Let's get out of here! Oh, why did we do this?
What? The anti-racism shorts?
We're not human, so who are we to speak for human people of color?
Oh my god, have the crystal gems finally gained some level of self-awareness? I wasn't expecting that. Could this be a decent PSA?
Silence, you fool. You said that about the last PSA, and look where it got you.
Well, maybe I'll be proven right this time.
Well, yeah, you can't do that, but you can speak for yourselves. You're allies.
Allies?
Explain.
Well, anyone can be anti-racist. It can't only be up to marginalized people to speak out. That would be totally unfair. Besides, the camera loves you guys.
Alright, never mind. I am a stupid idiot, and I will never have faith in anything ever again. Do I need to reiterate that the crystal gems were around for slavery and did nothing about it? I'm sorry, but once you let one atrocity go by undisturbed, then you have lost any right to be an ally for marginalized people. This would be like if you brought on a convicted rapist to star in a Believe All Women PSA. You guys have no fucking moral high ground to stand on.
Yes, my performance was flawless, but I see possible futures where we've made humans uncomfortable.
I wouldn't say uncomfortable. I'd say furious.
And this has nothing to do with us.
Ding ding ding. Yes, you're right, Pearl. This topic has nothing to do with you. So stop making PSAs about it.
But it does. I used to think racism wasn't my problem because it wasn't hurting me. But every time I didn't fight it, I let systemic racism continue. And sure, talking about this stuff means you might mess up. But you can learn and you can care. And I know you care. You're the crystal gems.
So first of all, systemic racism doesn't exist because the system that governs America cannot in and of itself be racist.
You gotta remember, America is made up of several different states with several different counties that are governed by several different types of bodies. To say that this country is systemically racist is preposterous because laws, cultures, and demographics vary wildly from state to state. Unless you can prove that every single law drafted by every single state that's voted on by every single federal and state legislator was specifically designed to put down any one group of people, then there is no such thing as systemic racism. Please stop saying otherwise because it's starting to piss me off.
Second of all, let's see if Cartoon Network stayed true to their word by keeping the comment sections of their PSAs open. Aww, so much for wanting to learn from your mistakes, guys. Now, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that these videos came out after the couple lawsuit that YouTube lost, which means that their comments were automatically disabled because they were labeled as kids-only videos. But let's be real here. Do y'all really think that Cartoon Network would have left the comments up if that wasn't the case? Come on, you know they wouldn't have.
Also, stop shit-talking the people who don't want to spend every day of their lives obsessing over racism. Believe it or not, most of us have got far more pressing things to worry about, like the governments of the world trying to mandate that people have stamped vaccine passports before they're allowed to go out and shop at a store.
But how are these shorts gonna fix anything?
That's the wonderful thing about them, Amethyst. They're not, because none of them tackle problems that actually exist.
Well, being an ally is bigger than just one gig. It's about seeing your place in the problem. If you speak up, maybe people will follow your lead and be able to change the whole racist system.
for the idiots who are gonna say, oh, well the fourth PSA has a positive like to dislike ratio, let me explain something to y'all. That PSA was released months after the other three were. I'm not sure if you know how internet time works, but here on the World Wide Web, a couple of months is treated more like a couple of years. So I'm certain that the reason why the fourth PSA has a positive reception is because nobody remembered the series it belonged to when it was released. Not only that, but if you hadn't watched any of the other PSAs before, or if you didn't even know what Steven Universe was to begin with, the message in this PSA might seem moderately reasonable. So no, this positive like to dislike ratio doesn't mean anything. Fuck off.
Also, seeing your place in the problem?
It's about seeing your place in the problem.
What is this, Soviet Russia? You see, comrade, you owning this big factory is harmful to the equality of our community, so you must see your place in the problem of capitalism and relinquish control of it to us. The only problem that I'm seeing my place in is with giving these PSAs free publicity, but I'm about to fix that in a fucking second.
Maybe these shorts can't make a difference, but allies can.
These assholes didn't even stop the Holocaust. What makes you think that they're going to put a stop to systemic racism? Jesus Christ.
Yes, there are so many futures where systems change.
Can you send me to the one where these PSAs were never made?
See? We should have made a short about allyship.
Greg, let's use this video as one of the shorts.
What, me? But I'm just Guitar Dad. I wasn't trying to...
God damn it, I shouldn't have used my moralizing douchebag clip so early either. Listen here, jackass. You went on a half-minute rant about systemic racism knowing you were being recorded. You don't get to complain about being roped into this.
Okay, fine. But I want a producer credit.
Is that supposed to be funny?
And there you have it. Those were the stupid-ass Steven Universe anti-racism PSAs. Or as I like to call them, the greatest argument for lobotomy.
This entire message is completely tone deaf.
Yeah, I just wanted to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
This one was definitely made as a response or retort. It's still a mess either way. It's more tame compared to the other ones.
It's just, the problems is that it's hypocritical.
Definitely.
More than anything.
It is very hypocritical. They're saying all this stuff and yet they don't act like this stuff.
Man, I swear, watch them do another one with Steven, and it's just down, it's just gone. I feel like Cartoon Network is smart enough, they wouldn't do one with Steven. Because like, this is it. This is it. This is the last one. Because these ones are like, see color, tell the whole story, don't deny it. This one's like, be an ally. Like, what else can they do? Then you see Steven just like writing.
Fight the system.
Fight the system.
Oh my gosh.
These PSAs were the most amazing things I've ever witnessed. No, I didn't misspeak. Never before have I ever seen anything as dishonest and harmful to the minds of children as these PSAs. They were condescending, unrealistic, and offered impractical solutions to problems that only exist in their warped view of reality. The most damning thing about their quality, though, is that they're self-defeating. After all, with lines like this,
Black people can't marry white people.
And this,
Thanks to systemic racism, most of your storytellers prioritize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture.
And this?
Right. My experience with anti-black racism is really specific. Other people of color experience other forms of racism too. But you won't see any of that if you don't see color.
There was no way in hell that they were going to accomplish much in terms of social justice. One need only look at the like-to-dislike ratio on all of these PSAs for evidence of that. Ignoring the fluke that is the fourth one as always, while it is uplifting to know that nobody bought into the race-baiting bullshit that was being fed to us by Cartoon Network, it pains me to see the characters from Steven Universe being used as pawns for the brainwashing of children. I might not have been the biggest fan of the show, but even I think it deserves better than this. These PSAs are a painful reminder of just how out of touch the entertainment industry is with the average consumer, and I can only hope that when companies put out stuff like this in the future, they do better.
I'm Alex the Critic, and I'll see you guys next time.